Right, hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So, by popular demand, we're doing part 3 of this little toe tip bucket. So at the end of part 2, we just got this frame put into here. And yeah, I'm just getting the mounts sort of in the right place now for where the pivot needs to be. So I've just taken one of them back out again, because for some reason, this inner one is sat down tight and this outer one is not. It wasn't on the other one, it was moving. You see that one there is not sat down properly where that one is for some reason. And then when you look at the hole, look at the original hole, it's not in the middle. So I've taken that one out, and then if I put the pry bar in there, I can prise that down a bit and I can get this back into where the middle, where it was before. So I think I'll have to trim a bit off them inner ones. I'll do the same on this side. I'll take that inner one out and then pry it down so that's in the middle of there, tack that on, and then see what I need to trim off these inner ones. The plate that's in there, with that being added on after, like you were seeing in part 2, the original plate had rotten away, someone had welded the plate over it, but that's not necessarily been welded on square. So that's maybe why it's touching at one side and not the other. So I've got that plate tacked in now, so it's sort of in the middle of that old hole. And I managed to fit one of them inner blocks back in through there, so I've got that in there now. But that doesn't line up with that. So that's butted up against that, but it doesn't line up with that. So I think I'll have to trim a bit off like that edge, so that will go further up that way. In hindsight, what I maybe should have done, this plate here, I should have made it cover both holes and then worked out what my centers need to be, and then just made like an extra spacer up to make up to 50mm. Anyway, that would have had its own set of problems, because then I'd have had 2 sets of holes to line up that way as well. It's the same at this side as well, you can see there it doesn't line up. So yeah, I've taken them out, trim a bit off them, put them back in, try again. Right, so I've got a bit trimmed off there, off them, 2 of them, and then I've also trimmed a bit off 2 of them and put a chamfer back on them again. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that ram in there, and then off of that I'll put a pin through both ends, and I can get that in the right place at the same time as when I do them. Ram's not too bad. The bushes in there are not too worn, and that doesn't have a bush in it, so that's fairly tight still. So that should, as long as that ram's closed right up, that should get me where I need to be with that. I'll get another pin cut for that, and I'll put that in and try and hopefully everything should line up a bit better now. Right, so I've got that ram in there now. I've got it sort of lined up where it was. It's not quite in the middle, but that hole is not necessarily worn equal. Trouble is the ram is out by that much. You'd think when the bucket was shut the ram should be all the way in. But if the ram's all the way in, then it's going to be miles off where the original holes were. Now onto some bump stops, onto some rubber bump stops. So it's not as if it's pulling metal against metal when it's fully closed or fully down. But that's how it was originally, obviously, so that's how it's going to have to be again. So that just wants prising down a little bit, and then I'll tack that in, tack that one in, tack these in, and then I'll have to take that ram out and put the ram in the other side, because I haven't got any bushes in the other ram yet, and the other ram needs a new end on it. Because if I don't put the ram in there, that pin might not necessarily be parallel with that back pin. But if I put the ram in, then I know that both pins are going to be parallel. And then just try and centralise it up best I can. Easier. If the ram was all the way in, then it'd be a lot easier to line it up where it is, but because the ram is out, unless I can draw around the rod, put a pen mark around the rod, how far out it is for that side. But I don't think it matters too much, a couple of millimetres anyway. But yeah, I'll get that tacked in, get the other side done. I'm about at the stage now where I could just weld it up as it is and just think balls to it. But yeah, I'll try and get it as true as I can. I've measured from the brackets down to the edge, both sides, and both the same there. And it's sat on both bump stops, so yeah, we can't be far wrong. Right, so we've got that side tacked in as well now. About in the middle there, and it's about how it was at the other side, just at the back side of that hole. So yeah, we can take the frame back off now and get them bits welded in, I think. Happy with how it's lined up. Yeah, I think that'll be fine for what it is, especially for what it is. It's just an old bucket, so yeah, it should do. We'll get them welded round. So I'll get as many tacks around this as I can, because there's some places it's not quite flush up to the sides, so I don't want it to pull too much, and then we'll weld round it. Right, so we've got them all welded in now. I welded them in with the pins in just to try and stop it pulling so much. So yeah, that's all that bit done. So yeah, I'm going to make some pins now. I'm going to put some ends on these pins. So I think for these, the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to drill a hole, tap it with an M12 bolt, and then put a big washer on. That bolts onto the end of the pin on both sides. And then for this one, I'll do the same on the inside. I'll drill it and put a big washer on. But for this side, as much as I tried to get that in the middle, it is still not quite bang in the middle, which I'm not too concerned about because the frame measured right where it needed to be. And these holes might not be worn even anyway. So I think what I'll do is I'll weld a washer onto the end of the pin, put it in the lathe and turn it down so it fits inside there. So obviously it's still going to be bigger than the pin, but it's going to have a head on it to stop it going through that plate on the inside. Then yeah, obviously the same with this one. If it was bang in the middle, then I could have bolted a washer on, but because it's a little bit out, I think weld it on, turn it down a bit just so it fits in there, and then that should do that. So yeah, we'll knock these pins out now. Hopefully they won't be too tight. My 30mm ream has come, so if I need to I can ream them holes out. I've never seen one with a point on the end before. Must have been sharpened. And there's the bushes, the hardened bushes to go in the pivots, like the main pivots. Right, so that's them pins knocked out. I don't know whether to run the reamer through them or not. They're nice and tight at them. So I don't really want the pins to move. So I might leave them as they are. I'm just going to cut some washers out now. Some 10mm washers. And we use this bit of 10mm plate. Right, so I've got them cut. I might actually only drill one end of these pins and then the other end weld the washer on them as well. just weld the washer on the outside of the pin and then just have the bolt on the inside, or whichever way around. Anyway, I'll bang these in the lathe now, and I'll drill a hole in each end and tap them out to M12, and then do the other end once I decide what I'm going to do. It would be easier using a 3-jaw chuck, but this 4-jaw is that heavy, it's a right job trying to change it, so I'll just leave that in all the time, and then I can do both odd shaped jobs like I was doing last week, boring them pivots through, or just takes a bit more setting up for round bar, but at least I can do both without having to swap the chuck over. Right, so I've jumped ahead a bit, I've got them pins made. So they're going to be the main pivot pins. They're the pins for the ram's front, and then they're the pins for the ram that go through the frame. They're a bit more difficult to get to, so put a washer on either side to hold them in, and I just have a washer bolted through on one end to hold them in. So next job, I've got these bushes now to go into them pivots. So I'll take out that temporary bush that I put in, and I'll drill and tap it for a grease nipple on there, and then we'll get these put in. Right, so I've got that drilled and tapped. Just need to get a grease nipple for there now. So these bushes ideally are supposed to have grease into the middle, and then it goes around the spiral, greases a pin. But to use that, I'd have to drill and tap 2 holes in it and put 2 grease nipples on it, which the chance of 1 grease nipple getting greased is very slim, so putting 2 on is even slimmer. But because the bushes are chamfered, when they're back to back like that, there is space for the grease to go through. I'll just have to nick a little way through, then the grease can get from the outside to the inside, and then it'll allow it into that spiral. And then hopefully it should grease both bushes. I like that, so I've just done that with a belt sander. Now the grease can get through onto the inside. I'll knock them in now. Right, so we've got them bushes in there now. So that's ready. I just need a grease nipple in there and give it a bit of a coat of paint. This is all ready. I'll blow that out with airline and give that a bit of a coat of paint as well. And then we're just waiting on the bushes for the rams, but I can get that put back on there and the pins in, and then that's that bit together, and then there's just the rams to go in once I've got them sorted. Right, so I've got that frame back on there. I've got the pins in. Well, it's been a couple of days since I got that done. I did that on Tuesday. Monday was bank holiday, so I did some invoices and some my VAT return. All fun jobs. Yeah, put that back together on Tuesday, or what you've just seen in this video. And then I've been waiting for some bushes for the rams. So I finally got some bushes to go in there. I'll have to put, well, yeah, 2 in that end. They're a bit wider than, 2's a bit wide, so I'll have to cut 2 down to go in there. And they want drilling and tapping for a grease nipple. But yeah, it's taken a while to get these because they're an unusual size apparently. 35mm OD, 30mm ID. And then I think they're, well, I don't know how wide they are. 25 wide. But yeah, I only got these today, and today is Saturday, and the video is due out tomorrow. So yeah, I haven't got time this week to sort these rams out. So I could have got on and got these ready for the bushes, like chop the end off and welded a new end on, ream that one out to 35mm. But I've done jobs like that before. But then when your parts come, they're either different or they couldn't get the size that you wanted. So yeah, I've waited till I've got the bushes, and then I know where I'm going, you know, I know what I'm working with then. Otherwise, I could have got them ready, and then the bushes came and they were wrong or a different size. So all that work could have been for nothing. Yeah, so it just means, unfortunately, it's not going to be finished in this part either, part 3. We're not going to do a part 4, but I will show you the rams, repairing the rams and the rams back in the bucket and the finished bucket once it's all back together. I'll do that as part of another video, next week's video. But yeah, that is all for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.